Welcome back. Well, with Canada on the cusp of legalization, a lot of weed warriors will have accomplished a very long fight. But few with as much impact as Canadian Tommy Chong, part of that famous comedy duo Cheech and Chong that did so much to bring weed smoking into popular culture. Chong was born in 1938, the very same year that cannabis was declared illegal in the United States. Today, Tommy Chong is riding that wave of weed entrepreneurship, and the smell of success is, well, unmistakable. I'll remember it.
I'll post it.
This was Tommy Chong's favorite place to buy weed in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right next door to where he could smoke it.
So this is the room here? The Vapor Lounge.
Yeah.
The walk up the stairs is more painful now after hip surgery and fights against cancer. But look at the walls. They're papered with memories of the decades-long struggle to legalize marijuana, going back all the way to the late 30s.
Showing Tommy around.
Anybody wanted by the police?
That's him. That's him. That's the guy who's a picture right there.
Talk it out, man.
Chong and his comedy partner Cheech Marin have been at the center of that fight their entire adult lives. Most memorably in their series of stoner movies beginning with Up in Smoke.
Oh, what'd you do that for, man? I would've ate it.
Their comedy always had a sharp political edge, and even today, with the fight for legalization in Canada coming to an end, Chong's rebel side can't resist a poke at authority.
What's this about the Canadian government wants to own the pot business? What is that bull, man? They keep up that we'll go back underground. What are they gonna do, put you in jail?
Did you always believe that you would live long enough to see the day when marijuana would be decriminalized in Canada?
You know, I never thought of it in the terms of it being decriminalized. To me, pot was always legal because it was good. It was good for you. I knew that. It's kind of mixed, you know, because there was a kind of like a beauty of being an outlaw, you know, an outlaw pothead, smuggling, you know, your pot across the border and getting away with it. You know, there was a lot of thrill to that.
The thrill of illegally smoking up may be waning, but it is still what fans will stop him to do wherever he goes. And he doesn't turn many of them down when they offer free samples.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely, thank you.
What's your name?
Nice to meet you, Todd.
Todd, thank you, Todd.
Does this happen to you everywhere you go now?
Yes.
It does.
Thank God.
It's nice to be Tommy Chong some days.
Oh, I'm telling you.
But for all his notoriety from being the grandfather of pot culture, comedy wasn't what first drew Tommy Chong to the stage. Music was. Beginning as a sunglass-wearing teenager in a rock band too edgy for Calgary in the late 50s called the Calgary Shades. The mayor and police chief considered them disruptive and suggested they leave town.
I was 17. I was still in high school, and a jazz musician named Raymond Ma in Calgary came back from LA to this little jazz club where we used to hang out, and he brought me, gave me a joint and a Lenny Bruce record at the same time. That changed my life. I smoked a little bit of the joint. Well, first of all, we smoked his joint because I put mine in my pocket. And then about a week later, I ended up quitting school and deciding I was going to become a blues musician.
All in the course of pretty much that week.
Oh, I smoked that one joint, and it just changed everything.
Which is how Tommy Chong ended up in Vancouver, where his father first arrived in Canada from China to work on building railroads. Tommy arrived on the same street with no money, but found a flat in Chinatown and took whatever music gig would pay him. And there weren't many. It was a tumultuous time in Vancouver in the 60s and early 70s. In the very same Gastown neighborhood Tommy toured and smoked up with us in, police then were violently arresting people for pot use after a smoke-in. throwing them into police vans and corralling with horses when they resisted. Mike Harcourt was a young storefront lawyer in Vancouver at the time. He later went on to become mayor of Vancouver and eventually premier of BC.
So the drug culture was all around, and it was pervasive to a certain extent. So it was very substantial and hotly contested between the authorities and most young people who thought the laws were wrong and should be changed.
But at that time, Tommy Chong wasn't much of an activist. He was in a Motown band, more of a beatnik look than a pothead or hippie. At first with Little Daddy and the Bachelors, and then as Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, where Chong wrote one of their biggest hits, Does Your Mama Know About Me?
Does your mama know about me? Does she know just what I am?
And then one night in Vancouver, the Supremes were in town and saw Chong and his bandmates and recommended Motown legend Berry Gordy sign them. He did. They had matching suits and everything, until one road trip to London, England, and a chance jam session with Jimi Hendrix.
The club was empty. And until Hendrix walks in the door with about 300 followers.
Wow.
He walked in, he walked up to the stage and he said hello to me. He said, "Hey, Tom." And Jimmy? Yeah, then we partied with Jimmy after. But that changed when after we met Jimmy, we came back, we went with their popsicle suits, came back, every one of us was dressed different. My hair started growing long, beard, and haven't looked back since.
And it was soon after that he met a Mexican-American carpet layer named Richard Marin.
He was he was an outlaw. He was dodging the draft. And so he was
It was the Vietnam era.
Yeah, he was up there just trying to stay out of the war. I was looking for something, you know, not necessarily a band. I wasn't really looking forward to going back and dealing with musicians again. But we put a band together because that was our.
That's how it started.
Cheech was the singer, and I put a band together, and we actually kind of won the Battle of the Bands. We never played a note. Cheech and I went out and did comedy for 45 minutes, and then what are we going to call ourselves? And Richard and Tommy, nah. Marin and Chong, nah. I said to Cheech, "Do you have a nickname, don't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "Cheech," and I said, "Cheech and Chong."
They started out doing racy comedy in a Vancouver strip club, discovered pot, got laughs too, which led to hugely popular comedy album recordings, and eventually Hollywood. And Up in Smoke, which just celebrated its 40th anniversary.
Sir, what's your name?
Hey, what's your name, man? The dude wants to know your name, man. His name is Ralph, man.
Cheech and Chong played a significant role in normalizing pot culture by creating clown-like characters that people could laugh with. They made 8 movies together, and then, like many great collaborations, they argued a lot and stopped talking for more than 2 decades.
Yeah, quarter pounder, man.
Cheech moved on to more serious, dramatic roles, which were rare in the era for Latino actors. While Chong reprised his stoner dude for That 70s Show, which gave him profile again, maybe too much profile.
I got busted for possession.
Oh, man, join the club.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I mean join the club, man. We meet every Thursday. We're trying to raise money for a field trip to Amsterdam.
What happened to that character turned out to be prophetic, because during the final season of the series, on the morning of February 24th, 2003, Tommy Chong's house in Los Angeles was raided as part of a $12 million FBI sting, codenamed Pipe Dreams. But it wasn't for drugs. It was for glass pipes, bongs.
Tommy Chong was charged because of his actions, because he operated a nationwide business that offered for sale and sold drug paraphernalia.
Later that year, Tommy pled guilty to charges of conspiracy to distribute drug paraphernalia and was sentenced to 9 months in prison.
This is over blown out of proportion?
You know, just the charges speak for themselves.
So do you think they sent Tommy Chong to prison, or did they send the character from that 70s show that was on at the time?
Totally, the character.
They needed a figurehead.
Yeah.
Well, they moved against 50 people that day, right? And you think you were the fish that they actually wanted?
Oh, sure. They told me that. I knew that.
Are you still bitter about it?
Not at all. Never been.
Why?
Every move that happens in your life is for a reason, and you have to find out what that reason is.
So what reason have you figured out that jail period was for?
It was to test my resolve, to test my true feelings.
Chong's sentence was spent in a minimum security jail for a company that wasn't even his. He'd lent his name and image to his son Paris's business.
They just forced my dad to take a plea because they said, we're gonna just put all three of you in jail. My mom, myself, and my dad. We're gonna come after all three of you, put you all in jail, or you can take the deal. Because this is kind of part of the drug war. You know, it's a culture war, especially the bong business. And it was this last gasp of these people wanting to just like shut down the whole kind of deadhead, kind of hippie weed smoking kind of thing. You know, they just don't agree with that stuff.
It just shows the demon weed mania has been very harmful, and he's an example of being harmed.
Do you think they tried to make an example of Tommy Chong?
Yeah, I thought it was a very cruel and savage thing that he endured.
Chong's incarceration was especially hard on his wife, Shelby, herself a Vancouverite.
Oh, it was devastating. You know, and they just wanted to put Tommy Chong in jail. You know, and they said, oh, because he made fun of cops when he did his movies. And it was just ridiculous.
And being on your own for 9 months, too. I mean, that must have been a big hit.
Yeah, I'd phone my sister crying all the time. She goes, go take another dance class. I go, okay. Because it would just be this like, oh my God, what happened to us? How did that happen?
After serving his time in California, he emerged much more politicized. Today, as he wanders his favorite head shop in Vancouver, there are walls filled with the very same glass products he was sent to jail for promoting.
Look at it. I went to jail for this, man.
Well, that's a bit crazy when you see, like, here it is open in a container and...
Yeah.
There's our trailer park boys. They're now doing exactly what you did.
Yeah. Well, no, I realized that this is the best publicity I could ever get.
Tommy is still forbidden under U.S. law from sponsoring bongs. They even took ownership of his internet name, TommyChong.com. So he finds solace in music more often these days, still writing and creating wherever he goes. But for all of that struggle, there is still one relationship from Vancouver not fully repaired. The one with his original dancing partner that brought him most of his fame and fortune, the one with Cheech.
Taking the act back on the road
Did everybody get high to come see Cheech and Chong?
isn't always easy.
When we first got back together, we basically had a fight.
When W5 continues.
The skyline of Los Angeles is a smoky haze on the best of days. Cannabis has been completely legal in California since the beginning of 2018. The state, like Canada, taking hesitant first steps toward an industry which everyone believes will be massive. Tommy Chong lives here now with his Vancouver-born second wife, Shelby. Because of the plea bargain that sent Chong to prison, the family business can't involve bongs anymore.
Got my Chong choice bud.
So along with their son Paris, they're capitalizing on this historic change by generating other sponsorships on social media.
It usually takes me all day Sunday to figure out how to work a pipe and a lighter.
By mounting a North American stage tour for the family. But to make it really special, his son and wife also wanted to reunite Chong with Cheech.
When we first got back together again, we basically had a fight. Big fight that we had never had before.
What was it over?
Basically over who did what.
They have their first get-together, and it was just terrible. It was like a big fight, screaming, you know, and then they kind of like went their separate ways.
It took Chong's son Paris to rescue the tour.
And then an offer was sent, because there was an offer for a tour, and then Cheech had emailed my dad about, hey, what do you think? Should we do it? You know? And I got a hold of that email and I replied, I said, yeah, let's do it.
Did Cheech know it wasn't from you when he got your son's email?
No.
Oh,
no,
really?
he thought it was for me. And I didn't say anything.
Fast forward to Casino Rama in Orillia, Ontario, about an hour north of Toronto, where Shelby is warming up the crowd.
Did everybody get high to come see Cheech and Chong?
While backstage, Chong is waiting for his professional partner.
When you guys get together, is it a kind of a, like an old boy's rhythm, or is it just so easy now because you've been doing it so long?
We've been doing it so long. It's funny. I still, that's why, I mean, we've been joined at the hip forever.
And as Cheech Marin slips in, Chong offers an introduction that is just a little off the mark.
Hey, Cheech. Huh? These CBS guys want to talk to you.
Well,
Or W5. How you doing, man?
I'm a lawyer, you know. I don't need to talk to you guys.
You haven't done anything wrong, no?
No. Yeah, that's right.
But when you guys get back together, is it like a brotherhood, or how does it feel?
Yeah, we are like brothers. We're not really best friends, you know, like we grew up together, but we are brothers. And so you can love your brother, or you can hate your brother, or you can be mad at him, or you could risk your life for him, you know. So
and you've done all of that, actually.
All of that, multiple times, and very seldom am I rewarded for that.
So you're not calling this a farewell tour? You plan to keep doing it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they keep paying us and they keep showing up, so why wouldn't you?
Well, it's a paycheck thing.
Oh, is it really? Honestly?
Well, yeah, think about it. I mean, together, you know, Cheech and Chong, you know, we're known the world over, you know.
Right. 9 albums, 8 movies. Let's stand up and make him feel good and bring out the Marisha Marijuana, the Pope of Dope, Cheech and Chong.
And so with minimal sentimentality, they're back together. And on stage, whatever differences remain between them has evaporated.
Who is it?
It's me, man, Dave. Open
Dave?
Up. Yeah, Dave.
Dave's not here.
No, man, no, I'm Dave, man.
Where were you born, man?
Where was I born? What are you, the host of Jeopardy?
The smooth rhythm of their classic routines and characters.
You've been kind around for a while, man.
God damn, man. That's a quarter pounder, man.
Find new life and audiences.
It's a little green flower that gives us the power, overcome sickness and despair.
The finale of the pair's live show is their classic song about legalizing marijuana, which is suddenly nostalgic. So, they changed the last line slightly.
Oh, look at all the
We got it legal, and I don't know how.
Thank you very much. People love Ontario. Thank you.
Backstage after the show, the comedy duo is earning a few extra dollars signing autographs. The cultural significance of Cheech and Chong touring again isn't lost on fans who have argued alongside them that weed isn't only about getting high.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
What a trip it's been for the half-Chinese kid from Dog Rib, Alberta. Born literally in a chicken coop and now poolside in the Hollywood Hills. He still smokes, usually several times a day. He says it's helped him fight cancer, cope with his many challenges, and now there are multiple business opportunities awaiting him in a legalized world.
What an interesting life. I mean, you've made people dance. You've helped people laugh.
Yeah.
You've changed the world in some ways by being, forgive me, one of the grandfathers of pot culture.
Yeah.
What do you want me to know?
I want everybody to know that they are eternal beings. The only thing you have that you leave this world with is your integrity. That's the only thing that's worth anything. Whoever you are one of a kind, and that you've always been here, and that the only thing that is worth anything is integrity.
Be good to yourself.
Yeah.
And all my cares go up in smoke.
And W5 continues in a moment.